After her 14-year-old daughter hurled an iPhone 15 at my face, my sister demanded, "Apologize to her or get out of our house." Have you ever been publicly humiliated by your own family, called cheap for not buying a teenager a luxury car, then had that very teenager throw a phone in your face and then your parents smirk? What would you do when the people you've constantly supported tell you to get out of their home, when it's actually your money keeping that home afloat? I didn't argue. I didn't yell. Instead, I quietly took back everything they thought they were entitled to. And that's when their world and mine completely changed. So my name's Mark. I'm 32, the older brother, the steady one. I'm the guy who files everyone's taxes just this once, who gets the 2 a.m. calls because the Wi-Fi mysteriously died, who remembers birthdays and pays deposits and shows up on time with the folding chairs nobody else thought about. I write code for a living. I meal prep on Sundays. I pay my bills early because late fees make my eye twitch. I've been called boring. I've also been called dependable. I used to think those were the same thing. I live 10 minutes from my parents. My sister, Tasha, lives with them temporarily, which has somehow lasted 3 years. Her daughter, my niece Kayla, is 14, taller than me now and always glued to a screen. My parents like to say, we all pitch in. Somehow that always meant my bank account. Sunday night, I stopped by with a carton of eggs and a new smoke detector because Dad's been meaning to install it. I walked in on a full-volume family debate around the dining table. Amazon boxes, takeout containers, charger cables everywhere. The TV was streaming some unboxing channel. Kayla was pouting at her phone. Tasha clocked me and exhaled like she'd spotted her ride. Perfect. Mark's here. Mom smiled without looking up from her tablet. Dad didn't. He only smiles at baseball. Kayla shoved a shiny phone at me, palms up like an offering. iPhone 15. Purple case. Sticker still on the lens. It's the wrong one, she said flatly like a judge. I wanted the latest model, not this cheap one. Cheap like it tasted bad. I blinked. That is the latest model. It's not Pro Max, she shot back. Do you even listen? The room paused like a play waiting for its next line. I set the eggs on the counter. Tasha folded her arms. So, you're the one who said you'd help set her up. You said you'd handle the tech stuff. Handle it? I looked at the receipt on the table. Not my card. Not my name. Still, somehow this was my problem. Kayla brushed past me. The phone hit my chest harder than I expected. It slipped, bounced off my jacket and clattered to the floor. A hairline crack zigzagged across the screen protector. She glared. See? You broke it. I wanted the Pro Max. Kayla, my voice came out calmer than I felt. You threw it at me. Tasha's chair scraped. Apologize to my daughter. I stared at her, unmoving like a wall. Apologize, she repeated, jaw tight. Or you're out of our home. Mom's eyes flicked up. She smirked like this was good TV. Dad sipped his tea. No one asked if I was okay. No one asked why a 14-year-old just tossed a $1,000 phone at someone's face. I took a breath. My pulse stuttered in my jaw. Kayla rolled her eyes. I wanted the latest model, not this cheap one, she said again, louder this time, like repetition made it true. Silence. A very specific kind. The kind where they expected me to fold. To make it easy. To take the blame because I always did. I didn't argue. I picked up the cracked phone. I set it gently on the table. Okay, I said. Noted. And for the first time in that house, I didn't explain myself. I didn't fix anything. I didn't even stay for dinner. The phone wasn't the beginning. It was just the first time they made the quiet part loud. 2 years ago, Dad borrowed my Amex points to book a cruise for their anniversary. He promised to pay the annual fee. He didn't. I paid it because I make more. When the ship posted 1,000 sunset photos, Mom's caption was, blessed. Family is everything. Last year, when Tasha lost her job for unfair reasons, which strangely matched her last 3 firings, I helped with 3 months of rent. That turned into half the mortgage until she's back on her feet. Then it turned into me moving their car payment to my account so they wouldn't lose the family car. The family car that I didn't drive. I also put money into Tasha's beauty studio, an Instagram idea that lived entirely in stories and never in a lease. It's not a loan, she told me sweetly. It's an investment. She spelled investment like faucet. Turn it and money comes out. When I bought my Tesla, Dad couldn't stop talking about how unsafe it looked. All batteries, he'd say, and then ask for the keys. He loved the quiet acceleration. It made him feel like a spy. He started using it to pick up groceries. Then to go to the gym. Then to drive Kayla to school because your car is better in the rain. I told myself it was fine. Family. It's just a car. Birthdays were group chats where everyone chimed in with cake emojis. Emergencies were private messages to me. Can you Zelle $300 for Kayla's cheer uniforms? The other moms already paid. Light bill came out early. Can you spot us? I'm under so much stress, Mark. Do you want Kayla to be the only one without new shoes? There was never a spreadsheet. There were never totals. Just me and my phone and whatever balance was left. If I hesitated, Mom would send a voice note. Her voice would drop into that soft, heavy register. Don't make your sister beg. You know how prideful she is. Prideful? Like not having to ask me was a moral accomplishment. Dad's line was simpler, be a man. That one always worked. Not because I believed him, but because I was tired. There were good moments, though. Kayla used to climb onto the couch with me to watch nature documentaries. We built a PC together when she was 11, matching RAM sticks carefully, lining up the pins like we were handling a museum artifact. She called me Uncle Nerd and smiled with all her teeth. She loved the LED lights. Then TikTok replaced documentaries. Then You're Boring replaced Uncle Nerd. The boundary creep was slow like fog. One day they were borrowing my Netflix, then my Apple Music, then my iCloud family plan. I paid because it was easier than explaining why I shouldn't. The login sharing became normal. Passwords turned into a community project. When I changed them, the group chat flared up like a fire alarm. Why are you punishing us? Tasha would write. Control issues, Mom would add like she was diagnosing me. Dad would text a thumbs up emoji to Mom's comment and then call me privately to say, don't be dramatic. We'll talk Friday. Friday would come and go. Nothing would change. Kayla wasn't born with that entitlement. We fed it to her like a vitamin. We taught her that if she looked sad enough, something new would appear. We taught her that money comes from a person, and that person is me. 2 weeks before the iPhone incident, there'd been a smaller crack. I'd stopped by to drop off an external hard drive for Dad. The house was full. Some cousin's birthday. I said hi. I waved at Kayla. She was in the corner with 2 friends, FaceTiming someone about a hoodie. Tell your uncle to stop being cheap, one of the girls said, not bothering to lower her voice. Facts, Kayla laughed, eyes on her screen. He's always like, budget, like who cares? Dad saw my face and clapped my shoulder. She's just a kid. Tasha saw it and said, you know how teenagers are. Mom handed me a plate and moved on to talk about centerpieces. A week later, a package showed up at my building. A Pro Max case, glittery with rhinestones, addressed to me. No phone, just the expectation. A note tucked inside. Can you order the actual phone so there's no delay? XOXOXOT. I set the case on my desk and stared at it for a full minute. My chest did that weird buzz it does right before a migraine. I typed a response. I deleted it. I told myself I'd talk to them in person. Then Sunday happened. The throw, the smirk, the apology demand. I went home and sat in the quiet of my apartment. I watched the city move through my window, headlights sliding up the walls like slow lightning. I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they were tired. Maybe Kayla was embarrassed. Maybe I was reading too much into it. My phone pinged. The family chat lit up. Tasha, next time don't make a scene. Mom, we raised you better than to humiliate a child. Dad, call me. Kayla in a voice message, I'll get it myself. I stared at that last message for too long. It was small but it scraped. I typed one sentence and sent it in the chat. We need to talk about money. 3 dots. Then Mom, don't you dare hold this over us. Tasha, if you're going to be petty, keep it. Dad, not on text. I put my phone face down. I stared at the Pro Max case on my desk until the rhinestones blurred. I knew then that the talk wouldn't be a talk. It would be me listing details while they call me names. It would be the same script as always, just louder. The only person who texted me privately was my cousin, Leah. You okay? I heard a version. I doubt it's the right one. I stared at that too. A version. There were always versions of me, apparently. The generous one. The controlling one. The safe one. The problem. No one asked what I wanted. I hadn't either. Not for a long time. They scheduled the talk for Wednesday right after Kayla's practice, so she wouldn't be stressed. I got there early and waited in the living room. Half the lights were off. The house smelled like microwaved lasagna and apple-scented cleaner. Tasha walked in first, arms crossed. Mom followed with a legal pad like she was keeping minutes. Dad stayed standing, which he does when he's planning to lecture. Kayla breezed through with her headphones on, paused long enough to roll her eyes at me and flopped onto the couch. Tasha didn't sit. So, are you going to apologize? No, I said. Silence. Mom clicked her pen. You escalated a misunderstanding. You embarrassed a child. She threw a phone at my face. Because you provoked her. Tasha snapped. You acted superior. Dad pointed at the coffee table. This is why we said not on text. You get emotional. I took a folder from my backpack and set it down. Printed statements, transfers, Zells. A year of temporarily. Yes, I kept my voice even. Here's what I've paid in the last 12 months. Mortgage top-ups, utilities, car insurance, Kayla's school trip, cheer uniforms, the Tesla insurance when you switched it under your address for convenience. The so-called investment. The grocery card you said you'd pay back and didn't. The streaming accounts. Mom scoffed. Are you keeping score? For once, yes. Kayla muttered, so dramatic. I turned a page. Here's the total. Tasha craned her neck, then looked away. Don't weaponize money. I'm not, I said softly. I'm naming it. Dad waved a hand. Get to the point. Here's the point, I said. My hands were steady. My heart wasn't. I'm done being the family bank. They all talked at once. Tasha, so you're punishing us because you're mad at a kid. Mom, family doesn't nickel and dime each other. Dad, I knew the minute you bought that car you'd change. Kayla, louder than all of them, can someone order my phone? Something inside me went quiet like a switch. The noise moved to the edges of the room. I stood. No. No to what? Tasha demanded. All of it, I said. No to the phone. No to the mortgage. No to the insurance. No to the investment. No to the Tesla. No to this version of me. The room stilled. Not because they understood. Because they were shocked. I used the word correctly. Mom's mouth twisted. You're heartless. Dad nodded like a judge. Ungrateful. Tasha stepped forward, voice sharpening. You know what? If you're going to be like this, if you're going to disrespect my child in her own home, then get out and don't come back until you apologize. I picked up my folder. Okay. Kayla smirked at her screen. I reached the doorway, then turned back. My voice didn't rise. I didn't need it to. This isn't revenge. It's a boundary. And because you like things in writing, you'll get a list of what changes and when. Tasha rolled her eyes. So, you're cutting us off. I'm ending the part where I disappear so you can live without consequences. Mom's pen tapped the pad. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said. But not tonight. Thursday morning I sent the email. Simple bullet points. Effective immediately, I'm removing my payment methods from all shared accounts. Netflix, Hulu, Apple Family, iCloud, Spotify, Xbox Live. By Monday, insurance and car registration for the Tesla will return to my address and name. The car will stay with me until I decide otherwise. The investment in the beauty studio is concluded. I'm requesting the remaining balance in the account be returned by the end of the month, or will convert it to a formal loan with terms. No new transfers, no Zells, no cash requests. Future help, if any, will require a budget and receipts. I CC'd myself because paper trails matter. The replies arrived like weather. First, a drizzle. Mom, we raised a stranger. Tasha, you promised? Kayla is devastated. Dad, men provide. Then a storm. Mom, your grandmother would be ashamed. She wouldn't. She used to slip me 20s and whisper, don't tell your mother. Tasha, you're stealing the car from your father. It was never his. Dad, you want us to fail. I wanted them to stop failing on purpose. I didn't answer. My therapist once told me, not responding is a response. I tried to hear her voice when the guilt did its old, familiar dance. At lunch, my phone buzzed with screenshots from Leah. Family group chat without me. Tasha, Mark's punishing Kayla. Who treats a child like this? Mom, he's always been jealous of his sister. Dad, he thinks a fancy car makes him important. An aunt chimed in with a praying hands emoji. Another cousin wrote, he needs to remember where he came from. I closed the screenshots and ate my sandwich in the stairwell where it was quiet. Friday, Dad texted, need the car to take Kayla to school. I said, I'll drive her. He said, don't bother. I went anyway. Kayla stomped to the curb, slammed the door and didn't say hello. Her friends stood by the gate watching us. One whispered loud enough for me to hear, is that the uncle? Kayla put her headphones on. 2 blocks later she said without looking at me, everyone has the Pro Max. You have a phone? I said gently. A good one. She snorted. You don't get it. I get more than you think. She didn't answer. At a red light I said, I used to love building computers with you. She stared out the window like the sky had offended her. Whatever. I dropped her off. She didn't say thanks. Saturday morning, a tow truck idled in front of my parents' house. Not for the Tesla. For their other car. Missed payments. Tasha texted me a photo like proof of my cruelty. Look what you did. I looked at the dates on the notice circled in highlighter. They'd been late before the phone. Before the boundary. The tow wasn't my fault. It was just visible now. Sunday Mom called and when I didn't answer, left a voicemail that started with tears and ended with venom. You're going to die alone. People say that when they want you to feel smaller than the room they're in. I blocked nobody. I also answered nobody. I made coffee. I cleaned my apartment. I put the glittery Pro Max case into a drawer I barely use. The one with leftover cables and a battery pack that never holds a charge. At noon my doorbell rang. Leah stood there with a bag of empanadas and a look that said, I know. She didn't ask questions. We ate in my kitchen. She told a story about her boss forgetting his own laptop at TSA. We laughed. It felt like breathing air I hadn't tasted in months. Monday I moved the Tesla's insurance and registration back. At the DMV the clerk asked, any reason for the address change? I smiled. Finally reading the manual. Tuesday a new email from Tasha. Kayla needs rides now. Are you happy? No, I thought. Happiness wasn't what any of this was about. It was about not drowning. Work got better. Not instantly, but in that way where the background hum lowers. I was shipping a feature that had haunted me for weeks because I'd been too busy absorbing everyone else's fires. My manager said, nice work. I believed her. I started going to the gym again. I took a beginner's pottery class because a friend begged me to try it. My mug was ugly. Made me smile anyway. The crisis at my parents' house didn't end. It shifted. Without my auto payments, the budget suddenly mattered. Dad sulked. Mom threw pity parties with centerpieces. Tasha tweeted subtweets that were obviously about me. Kayla posted a story with a blurry photo of a crack on her phone and wrote, some people are fake. I didn't swipe up. There were small, unexpected things. My neighbor Priya knocked to ask about chargers and stayed to talk about her dog. She said I looked lighter. I didn't know I'd been wearing heaviness on my face. Leah texted more. Proud of you, she'd write like vitamins. Then Tasha escalated. Of course she did. She sent a long, breathless text about how the beauty studio needed just one last infusion to survive. Think of it as protecting your initial investment. She attached a Canva chart with circles and swoopy arrows and predicted revenue. There were no numbers connected to reality. There were no costs. It looked like a vision board with clip art lipstick. I replied with one sentence, no. She unloaded. You're evil. You're abandoning us. Kayla cried herself to sleep. I typed and erased 3 times. Then I wrote, if you want help, show me a budget. Hours later, she sent a photo of Kayla's tear-streaked face. Mid-cry. My stomach flipped. Manipulation lives in your body before your brain. I put my phone down. I washed dishes. I texted Leah, tell me I'm not a monster. She called immediately. You're not, she said. You're a boundary with legs. Thursday night, Dad ambushed me in the driveway. Your mother is sick over this. So am I said. Just a different kind. You think you're better than us? I think I'm not a debit card. He shook his head. You never apologized to Kayla. That girl's been through enough. I looked at him and asked, what exactly am I apologizing for? For not buying a child the exact model she demanded? For not absorbing your bills? For refusing to be shouted at in my parents' house? He didn't answer. He looked at the Tesla instead. You always like showing off. It's a car, not a parade. He turned to go, then threw one last line over his shoulder. We'll remember this when you need us. I almost laughed. When have I ever needed them? Not in the way they mean. The following week, something shifted in a direction I didn't expect. Kayla texted me. Not a paragraph. 2 words, computer help. I stared at the screen. I typed, what's up? She replied, PC won't boot. Black screen. Needed for a project. I considered sending a link to a tutorial. Instead, I drove over. She met me at the door, eyes guarded, chin tilted like a shield. We didn't talk about the phone. I plugged in the PC, popped the case, reseated the GPU, checked the power. It booted on the 3rd try. The LED lights flickered on, pink and blue. She exhaled. Thanks? I nodded. Anytime. She hovered. Can you show me how you did that? I felt something loosen. Yeah, I said. Grab a chair. We worked in silence. After a while she said, so quietly I almost missed it, I didn't mean to hit you with the phone. I know, I said. You meant to throw it near me. Physics did the rest. She cracked a smile. Facts. We didn't fix anything bigger than a boot loop. That was enough for a Tuesday. I drove home and realized my hands weren't shaking. 2 months later, the Pro Max case still sat in my drawer under old cables. Every so often, I'd open it and look at the glitter. I remembered how easily I used to trade my piece for approval. It felt strange to look at an object and recognize the version of me who would have clicked by now without blinking. I still got messages. Holidays came with group photos I wasn't in. There were comments under those photos from people who'd never met me. Family is everything. I would put my phone down and make coffee and text Leah a meme and go on with my day. My parents did not transform into saints. Tasha did not become financially literate overnight. Kayla did not leave her phone in a drawer and read Russian novels by candlelight. Real life isn't a montage, but the volume knob turned down. At work, I said yes to a project I wanted and no to one I didn't. My manager said, "Boundaries look good on you." I laughed because I finally understood the joke. On a Sunday, I pulled the Tesla into my parents' driveway to drop off a package that had been misdelivered. Mom opened the door. She looked smaller. She also looked like herself, sharp and a little tired. We stood on the porch like diplomats. She didn't apologize. Neither did I. I made too much soup, she said, her eyes not quite meeting mine. Do you want some? Yes, I said. I'd like that. We ate at the counter. We did not talk about phones or money. We talked about the weather and a neighbor's garden and a movie she half liked. It was mundane. It was safe. When I got up to leave, she touched my sleeve. You always were dependable, she said softly. The word landed differently this time. Not a chore. A fact. In the car, I sat for a minute with the engine off. I looked at my hands on the wheel. They didn't feel like anchors anymore. That night, Kayla sent me a photo of the PC glowing like cotton candy. I added fans, she wrote. No more overheating. Pro Max. I laughed out loud. I typed back, looks dope. Proud of you. Then after a long beat, she wrote, sorry about before. I stared at the screen. I felt that old automatic urge to say, it's okay. I didn't. I wrote, thanks for saying that. And then I put my phone down and did something I hadn't done in a long time. Nothing. People talk about revenge like it's the only satisfying ending. They don't talk enough about freedom. Mine wasn't a fireworks show. It was a calendar with empty spaces that used to be filled with other people's emergencies. It was a bank account that didn't feel like a public utility. It was a car that went where I wanted it to. It was a quiet apartment where I could hear my own thoughts. Apologize to my daughter or you're out of our home, my sister said after her 14-year-old daughter threw an iPhone 15 at my face. I wanted the latest model, not this cheap one, she yelled. My parents just smirked. I didn't argue. I withdrew my investment. I took back the Tesla. And I said out loud and to myself, from now on you're on your own. Not because I stopped loving them. Have you ever faced a moment where you had to completely change your dynamic with your family to protect yourself? What did that journey teach you? Share your stories and thoughts in the comments below. I'm really interested to hear them.